We're gonna go over, stay in the Big 12, talking about one of those teams that I just mentioned briefly a second ago. Colorado travels to Kansas. Now it's not on campus; it's technically a neutral site game, but Colorado's favored by 3. I believe that line opened at 2.5. We're gonna pick it at 3. Kansas is playing good football right now, guys. Travis Hunter's in the national spotlight. For up for some award called the Heisman Trophy. These days he's playing good football. Shador Sanders is, in my opinion, these last couple weeks playing the best football of any quarterback in the entire country. He to me is looking like a top 10 pick, top 5 pick, in the NFL draft, regardless of like whatever you talent wise, right? I'm not gonna speak to other things about him, just intangible. I'm just watching the games. All right, he looks amazing. Both these teams are trending upwards, so it's hard to pick, right? And you might be sitting here as a college football fan, you might be like, how in the heck is Colorado only 3-point favorite against a team that's only won 4 games all season? Guys, Kansas has lost 6 games this season, 5 of them in a one possession game. They won their first one possession game last week. They're 1-5 in one possession football games, which is crazy because Lance Leipold is such a good head coach, right? And when I look at this too, like the quarterback matchup, right, I give the edge to Shador Sanders in Colorado, but the coaching matchup,
In game,
in game management, right, I give the head coaching over at Kansas a little bit of an edge here. Not necessarily the staff there, but because they did lose some guys. They lost Jordan Peterson, right? Their DB's coach, who's been really good to them for a long time. They lost Andy Kotelnicki to Penn State, right? So there was some serious coaching turnover, which is a good sign, by the way, for Kansas. If your coaches are getting poached elsewhere, it's hard to reload there. But Jalen Daniels is playing better football. Thing is, though, Colorado, I think, has done a decent job stopping the run. I know you're going to be like, well, Tosh Brooks just ran for 130 yards against them, but Tosh Brooks also ran for 130 yards against nearly freaking everyone. So, I don't care. All right. I think I'm going to go with Kansas here, +3. And I think I'm going to take them to win as well. They're just playing too good of football right now. I know Colorado's also playing too good of football right now, but I think when it comes down to it, playing on the road for Colorado and also the head coaching advantage in that fourth quarter, or overtime, whenever it's happening, I just trust. I know it's hard to say when they're 1-5 one possession games this year, but I just trust. I trust what I'm seeing with my eyeballs right now with Kansas. I think it's a team that really wants to make a bowl game, and they absolutely can.
yeah, I had a Kansas future. It was plus 950 to win the Big 12 early in the year, and it was awful for a while, and I kind of regretted it. But damn, this team right here, this is a team that could, if they've been playing like this all year long, if they've been winning those close games, they could absolutely be finding themselves in the same spot BYU is, in the same spot Colorado is, in the same spot Arizona State is, right there with a chance to win the Big 12. Yeah, this is a dangerous spot. We talked about Kansas's schedule, and look who they've played, and look at these teams at the top of the Big 12 in Kansas State and Iowa State, and then BYU last week, and now Colorado. Teams that don't want to be playing Kansas because you're not going to get credit for losing for them because it's not a quality loss at all, in the eyes of a lot of people. But you also know you're playing a very talented, dangerous football team with a very good coaching staff. I do wonder, too, I mean, it sucks that this game's technically neutral site. I know it's going to be in Kansas City, and then it'll be at Arrowhead. I get that. It's technically a home game for Kansas, but it would be fun to be on campus. I hope the crowd is somewhat good for Kansas. I haven't been paying too super close attention to their games at Arrowhead, but I know obviously Shador and Travis and Dion, they bring their own set of, publicity and excitement. So I feel like the stadium will be a little bit more packed, even more so than it is right now because it is such a big game in the Big 12. I'm going to go Colorado on the other side, though. I feel pretty good about that. I think this is the best team in the Big 12, and not particularly close. I think what they've been doing against the run defensively, I think what they've been doing trying to run the football on their own too has been very encouraging and something that if they can continue to take advantage of, Kansas is a team that's not very good against the run. And if you can, let your running game get going and not have to go against the pass rush, of Kansas and Jerome Robinson, guys like that, that could affect you for sure. And obviously Shador and the talent there at Colorado, in the offensive side of the ball with the weapons they have is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I think it's going to overwhelm Kansas. I do worry with Kansas and Jalen Daniels. We saw early in the season when they get pressed, if they go down in games, we've seen one-score games go the other way because he'll throw a pick. He'll do something he can't afford to do. And we saw it even in the BYU game. It was a one-score game. He threw an interception, and it didn't hurt him, right? But it almost did. So I think Colorado and Shador just really good football right now. Now, if Devin Neal and Daniels can get going on the ground, it would be a lot more interesting. But I think you're playing this straight up. I think Colorado can commit stopping the run here. You got a couple corners to cover, Luke Grimm and Lawrence Arnold, and you can get after this Kansas football team. But it is a dangerous game. Like we're talking about this, we're talking about a 4-6 team playing an 8-2 team. But there's a reason why that line is so tight here. It could be really interesting, and it's so meaningful for the Big 12. But I do want to ask you: it's got to depend on how this tiebreakers shape out. But Colorado can lose and still make it, if I'm not
To the
mistaken.
Big 12 championship?
Yeah, I mean they're
Yeah,
technically 6-1.
I think they. Well, I know BYU definitely can. I don't know about Colorado. I'd have to do the math on that. But you
I
said
think.
you think Colorado's the best team in the Big 12, and you said you don't think it's particularly close. I'm
Well,
gonna
like when I
disagree with
say
you on
close,
that.
I'm talking about like your typical margins in the Big 12. Like that's probably hyperbole. I get that, but I don't think. I'm more so I feel strong about that. Like I think you get anybody neutral site, I'm gonna pick Colorado, and I'm not really gonna think about it.
Okay, because I don't think that there's a huge difference between I think there's 11 teams that are probably power rated within a field goal to 4.5 points in the Big 12 of each other. I legitimately think probably 10, but
The
I don't
cutoff
know.
is probably in Kansas.
It's probably like West Virginia. It's probably the cutoff. TCU. No, not even. Probably West Virginia. Probably your cutoff, maybe.
Well, I mean Kansas is probably under 5 points difference because it's 2.5.
Well, I mean, yeah, yeah. We'll open at 2.5, so it's probably 5.5. Yeah.
Kansas is also probably power rated over
Well,
Cincinnati and
also
West
it's
Virginia.
technically a neutral site, so actually it probably is under 4.5, 5.
Yeah.
I think Colorado. So just
Maybe that's a
saying,
crazy take, but I feel good about
it's
Colorado
not
right now.
crazy. I mean, they're the favorites right now to win the Big 12. So it's not crazy to say that they're the best team in the Big 12. I don't know, kind of like Kansas in this spot here.